Good to be with you today. And I'm Ream, and I'm also here with Kimber, my co-teacher for this 2 hours that we're going to spend together in practice with our lineages, and also here with Mary Ann, who's from Big Bear. So you'll hear more from them in a moment. I see we don't have the chat open to everyone, but we're about to fix that. What do you say, Mary Ann? Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So taking a moment to look around the room. It's always good to orient together that we're going to be in this 2 hours of practice. We're going to be in practice together, being in contact with our ancestral lineages, the lands that we're on, and receiving the care and the backing of those ones towards our work for racial justice. So it's nice to see you here, arriving inside of that longing, that hope for a world where there's everything for everyone. And we're living in very significant times. It's Rosh Hashanah. It's the anniversary of October 7th. It's the anniversary of a year of resistance by the Palestinian people and by people around the world for life. And so we're really holding in this practice that life is always moving towards life. So the invitation as you come into practice with us today is, can you notice at the level of your body and your practice the way life is moving in you? And I'm coming back to the chat to see if we can post where we're arriving from. And if
Ream, I'm working on that. For some reason, I'm not seeing where I can change the settings right now, but I'm trying.
Let's not worry about it then, and let's get started. What do you say? Lots of love for Mary Ann. I wish everyone could put love in the chat for you doing our online management.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It usually is. Oh, wait.
Okay.
That should do it.
Anybody want to try it out? Where you're arriving from? I'm on Ohlone land in Oakland, California. Anything you'd like to share about your people? Hey, there we go. My people come from Sweden, Norway, and Britain. So yeah, as folks are arriving, where are you arriving from, and anything you'd like to share about where your people are from? Cool. Going back as far back as you want to go, or as recently as you want to go. We try to be really broad in that question, knowing that many of us are from lineages where there was loss of land, where there was conflict and confusion. So inviting you into noticing what it's like to be where you're from and also be where your people are from. It's beautiful to see these. Oh, thank you. Yes, Coast Salish land, Scandinavian and Celtic, Tequesta, Taino, Seminole, and Muskogee lands. Good to see these. Patwin lands in Davis, Celtic, Gaelic, Barcelona, Catalunya, Spain, Ireland, and England. Tongva land, known as Los Angeles. I'm also from there. All right. Ashkenazi ancestors from all over Europe. Yep. Really honoring those ancestors today as we move into the high holy days and also this time of prayer and liberation for the people of Palestine. Kamaya and San Diego. And yes, adopted. Really want to extend the work that we're doing to people whose lineages experience loss, brokenness, confusion, really all of our lineages. So for people who are adopted, we're welcoming you in with a special welcome to be with us today and feel for what you can feel for in the ancestral field about who your people are and where they came from. Yeah, all those lineages. So we include what we know and what we don't know. in this field of prayer and invitation to these wise and older ancestors that we share. All right, yes, my adoptees in the chat. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Marianne to get us started with some logistics. And yeah, just so excited that you're all here and that we can be in this for the next 2 hours together in a beloved community of practice for liberation. Over to you, Marianne.
Thank you, Ream. So good morning, everyone. It's really beautiful to be here with all of you as somebody who's had a long-term committed anti-racist practice, as well as a long-term committed Dharma practice. And as a BBRC employee, it's thrilling for me that this is actually happening. Can you hold on just a second, please? I also have a rescue dog who's losing her mind right now. And I was like, let there not be a cat involved. There's not, it's a ball. So, and then, then this other layer of the tenderness of this moment is that I'm an adoptee, and to see that people who are touched by that particular way of being is very moving for me. So from the standpoint of like the tech, we got the chat open. So that was the first big hurdle. So we're there, right? So that's, just wanting to let you know, I'm going to be in the background really, but you can direct message me if you're having any type of issue, any type of question. It's obviously what are you comfortable with is up to you. There's always the invitation to keep your camera on if that works for you, because it does give us that sense of community, but it's absolutely up to you. And just to note that the meeting is being recorded. We won't be recording when folks speak, when participants speak. It's going to be Ream and Kimber. And right now, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to unmute and let me know. Cool, sounds good. So on behalf of Big Bear Retreat Center, I offer you all a warm welcome. Thank you so much, Ream and Kimber, for offering this today, and big love to all of you, my siblings.
Good morning. Thanks so much for coming to get this taste of the retreat that we're offering in December. Really, really glad to have the opportunity to share this with you. My name is Kimber Simpkins, and I currently reside on the land of the Awaswa-speaking Uyupi people, of whom there are currently no publicly known living descendants. And so it's land stewarded by the Amamoots and Ohlone people. It's colonially known as Santa Cruz. And really, I want to hold the awareness that our land acknowledgements are really most meaningful when accompanied by land back and by paying land taxes. And so just inviting in action behind our acknowledgements. And I'm a white-bodied cis femme queer, and my ancestors hail from all over Northern Europe, including Scotland and Ireland, who are that's really the ancestral lineage I'm exploring deeply right now. And this particular lineage settled in Appalachia for many generations. And so I want to invite us all into the complexity here, all into what it means to explore our ancestry as white folks, and the importance of this in our racial justice work, in how we understand ourselves and how we move through the world, and how we're able to relate both to other white folks in community, and also how being informed and being grounded in awareness and relationship to our own ancestry helps us show up better in community with BIPOC folks as well. And how important this work is for us in the challenges undermining of white supremacy that we want to see in the world. And so yeah, let's start out. I'm just going to start out. You can close your eyes for a moment. Just a little bit of grounding. Just remembering that you have a body. Remembering your breath. Inviting in this connection to earth that you can feel through wherever your body is resting on that quality of solidity, that earth quality. Inviting in that resourcing. Inviting in all the supportive energies. The well and healed ancestors. The spirits of the land that support us in this work. The spirits of the air and earth. Fire and water. Inviting in the devas, the spirit guides, inviting in all of these supportive qualities, supportive energies that help us meet this work, that help us connect to this felt sense of being supported, of being resourced, of being held by something larger than the world we see. Asking for the blessings of all those who have gone before us. Let's begin this work together. Go ahead and you can slowly stretch a little bit. Stretch, you can open your eyes. And I'm going to hand it over to Ream.
Thanks, Kimber. Just noticing that 5 minutes there of getting grounded and connected to the earth, to ancestors. Like what happens for you at the level of your body or in your practice if you're a meditator, a meditation person, like when we let ourselves be held for even just a few moments by that which is greater than us. Like, to be very, very honest, the real is it's a scary and confusing time. And all of our people, going back in time, thousands and thousands of years, there were times of peace and prosperity, but our people live through scary and confusing times, right? Times of climate catastrophe, times of genocide, loss of land. And, I'm saying these things up front because they know a thing or two about survival, and they know a thing or two that they can share with us right now. And I do mean directly. I'm a union organizer with domestic workers. I spend every day of my life fighting in the world of material change for immigrant workers in this country, the United States. And I felt this longing in me for that work, for my life, to be more connected, to have a fuller sense of why heal, why feel, why this time, why now. I've heard people say, like, well, why isn't a spiritual question? The spiritual practice is to to keep feeling, to keep allowing more of life to be here. So however it is that you're coming to this work, like with skepticism, with uncertainty, or like I did with a fair degree of like desperation around these unending crises, all of that is welcome here. We are people who've practiced and trained in the Vipassana lineage, or the insight lineage of Western Buddhism. So we give a lot of honoring to the elders of Southeast Asia who protected and chanted and brought those lineages all the way down to us 2,500 years later. And then through practicing in Buddhism and Vipassana, definitely I wanted and went searching in my heart and not knowing where to look, to feel as rooted with my ancestors of my blood and bone, my ancestors of place, those places being in Europe. I wanted to be as rooted and as connected to them, right, as I felt, as I became through 10, 15, 20 years of practice in Buddhism. Ancestor practice is a really important part of Buddhist lineages, that we're dedicating our practice to those who came before us and those who come after us. And then so much complexity inside, being a person of European ancestry whose ancestors came to the United States, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, and everything that happened when they arrived, around loss of land for the indigenous people of North America, and then the process of how they got here. Right? None of this is easy. It's not even particularly easy to know. Again, lifting up the folks who are coming in who know very little about their lineages. You don't need to know anything about your lineage to be able to pray for, to practice with the support of our ancestors. And more gratitude for me to Black Buddhist teacher Lama Rod Owens, who my dad was dying of Parkinson's over 2020. And we couldn't be in the room with him while he was dying. We could just be outside the window of the nursing home. And I was like, I need to practice. I need to be practicing something while I'm here. And lucky enough to get in contact with Lama Rod, who leads a practice you can check out called the 7 Homecomings. One of the 7 homecomings and they're like refuges if you practice with the 3 jewels of how we want to anchor our practice in this moment, that we don't arrive here alone, that we can really call to us these wise, older, loving people who themselves lived once. They know what it's like to have a body and be a human in times of crisis and times of trouble. But through our prayers and through our offerings, through the blessings of our life, they live in the field that we call the ancestral field, right? They're there. It's hard to know how to talk about these things in our modern life, but they're there and we can be in contact with them the same way that we practice for contact with the promises of Buddhism, right? Like the Four Noble Truths, or the possibility of enlightenment, the possibility of taking the Bodhisattva vow and living this life as a spiritual practice. So if anything that I just said is new to you, don't worry about it. The main thing I want to get across, I think, for us as we move into some deeper practice through meditation and through being in community, is that it's worth a try, that we need all the help we can get right now, that these are scary and confusing times, and that move towards being in practice, calling our ancestors to us, can allow us to be more powerful, more rooted, and more grounded in what we're about, whatever it is, whatever the domain of your life is, that we can do that towards reverence for land and life, and reverence for land and life means playing our part to end these legacies of colonization, domination, supremacy that we were so impacted by in every direction as people who've lived our lives in Europe. It's not wild to say, a few hundred years ago, but yet as a person who had come from people who had earth reverence, earth honoring practices, lived in a place that we now call Europe. So I think that's a little bit of what I want to say, just to name it up front, what the challenges are, and what the possibilities are of this practice. And I want to invite folks into the chat to name any conditions that you're practicing with. And what do I mean by conditions? Like, what's up around you right now? Certainly, we're coming into the year anniversary of October 7th, and this impossible to even comprehend loss of life over this last year. But what are some conditions that you are practicing inside of? It could be in your home community, in your family. Would like if folks would name some in the chat so we can know what's up. What are some conditions you're practicing with right now? Be in your health and your life. It's almost as if we're going to be dedicating what we do here to what you all put in the chat. Say around me, my neighbors. Education and housing are the big issues. I'll read a few of these out in the chat. On our hearts right now, what are we practicing towards and for? Unhoused people in California. Yeah, and I talked about conditions because conditions are always changing, we can change this and we will. Ongoing genocide in Palestine and moving outward, weaponization of Jewish trauma and fear, living with intense states of mind in my lineages and community. Family illness, friends impacted in North Carolina. Thank you for naming that. All the genocide happening all over the world. The hurricane, bad mental illness spike, big doubt. Moving soon, concerns about folks in North Carolina after Helene, worsening effects of climate change, harm by psychiatric systems and medications, intergenerational poverty of my in-laws and people of Extremadura and Andalusia, ongoing genocide in Palestine, Congo, and Haiti, climate change and lack of support for people in North Carolina. Yeah, letting all these be held. And you can keep it coming in the chat as we start to move into meditation practice. Thank you for these. We hold these in our hearts. We hold these as the for the sake of what practice, for the sake of what call our ancestors towards us so that all this may change. Thanks for practicing with me, everyone. And I'm going to pass it over to Kimber.
Thanks so much, Ream. Yeah, I want to I want to invite us, and I want to share too, one of the things that brings me into this work is there are people in my family. I don't have adoption in my family's recent history, but because of family estrangement, those who hold the lineage information are not accessible to me. And so I don't have the ability to like track that in the way that I might like to. And so for me, one of the things that brings me to this work is that I want to have a more direct relationship with my ancestors, and not just have it be on paper, not just have it be two-dimensional, but have like a three-dimensional experience with my ancestors that isn't dependent upon family dynamics that would take a lot of therapy to overcome. And so that's one of the things that I really appreciate about this work in particular. And so we're going to go into a little practice here, and I want you to here. Let me just get a sense of the room. How many of you have done some ancestor work of like directly contacting your ancestors through prayer or meditation or just quiet or anything like that? Okay. And so we're in different places around this. Some of us have done this kind of work, some of us haven't. And if you already have been in contact with ancestors, feel free to use this time to deepen whatever practice you usually do around your ancestors, or come along for the ride with us. This might be a little different than what you've done before. And for those of you who are brand new to this, I really want you to treat this with a lot of curiosity, a lot of just exploring, really inviting yourself into a centered groundedness that we come into this work from, and just see what arises. Just see what comes up, and without any expectations around it or judging yourself, like, am I doing it wrong? Or maybe this won't work for me. See if you can quiet those voices, and we can talk more about that too. One of the things that I want you to notice before we get started is, as I'd like you to note for yourself where you're sitting in relationship to the cardinal directions, right? East, south, west, and north. See if you can note, like, it doesn't have to be like precise, but see if you can notice it just generally, like, oh, this is east. If you're somewhere like in California, it would be like where the sun has just risen, right? And so just see if you can note that. And during this meditation, I'm going to ask you to turn, maybe physically, if that's easily for you, or just intuitively, you're going to turn in that direction and kind of feel into that space, right? To the right, behind you, to the left, in front of you. So we'll have a chance to work with that a little bit too. So just giving you the heads up about that, so you're not scrambling to figure out which direction you're pointed in when we're in the meditation. And also grab a pen and a piece of paper if you don't already have such a thing. And quiet any devices. It'll be easier if you're not being pinged by your phone or other notifications. And I invite you to make sure your space feels quiet and calm in whatever way that makes sense for you. You could also light a candle, or if you have a little incense nearby, just to sort of ritually prepare your space, or something you'd like to do for yourself around that. And we're going to start out. I'll just wait a second for people to get a little more settled in. We're going to start out with your pen and paper, actually, because what I want you to notice here at first, and just as you're settling in, I want you to notice what your intention is for doing this work. Why are you here? Why do you want to connect with the ancestors? Maybe it's for personal and familial healing. Maybe it's to transform harmful intergenerational patterns. Right? Maybe it's to be more effective at the change work that you're engaged in by knowing your ancestors better. And maybe it's something different, or maybe it's all of these to some degree or another. So I'd love for you to just pause for a moment, notice what intention is arising from you. Maybe write it down briefly, maybe just 1 or 2 words, 3 or 4 words, but something short. You can always adjust it later, right? If something else arises. And yeah, I'll just wait for a moment while you, something else that you want to write down. So in this practice that we're going to do together right now, I'm going to invite you to work with creating healthy boundaries and inviting in ancestors who are safe and healthy and good for you to relate with, as well as feeling into which ancestral lineage is most available for you to work with right now. And I'll be inviting you to work specifically with ancestors of blood rather than ancestors of love, although I'll refer to the ancestors of love. Just because of the importance of working with our ancestors of blood as white folks in this practice together. And if you have questions about this, please feel free to bring them to the harvest later. I also want to mention that that there will be some pronouns and some reference to binary gender in this meditation. And I just want to share with you that I'm personally, in sharing this work, I'm still figuring out how to appropriately work outside of the binary gender in these practices. There's a lot of reference to like mother and father and that sort of thing. And so I'm still working with like how to really skillfully move outside of that. So just letting you know about that as well. So go ahead and settle into your body. If it's more comfortable to sit up or lay down, you can have your camera on or off. You can let your eyes softly close, or you can let your eyes just rest lightly unfocused in front of you. And notice your breath. Just take a big inhale here. And on your exhale, sigh it out. Again, big deep inhale here. Exhale, sigh it out, let something go. One more time, big deep inhale. Exhale, let it all go on the breath. And as you breathe here, notice your breath. Notice where your body is touching the earth, is supported by the earth. Feel that sense of being supported by earth itself, and know that earth is one of our ancestors. These elements of earth and air touching your skin, elements of water and fire. All of these also our ancestors, also part of us, not separate from us right now. And as you let yourself settle in with each exhale, feeling yourself ground and connect to the support of the earth. I also want to invite you to bring in a power or a guide that you already know and trust. Maybe it's the earth, maybe it's nature, maybe it's Buddha or Kuan Yin or some other guide of spirit. Maybe it's an ancestor that you've already worked with. It could be a deity or a tree or an animal spirit. It could be the qualities of goodness or love or wisdom. And let yourself continue to rest in your body, your feet, your hands, wherever your body is resting on the earth. Let yourself rest into the breath. And attune to your guide. Attune to the goodness. And take a few breaths here. And ask that your guide or this power help you clear your personal space of any negative energy, just helping you be free of any energy that doesn't support you. You can ask these guides, these powers to assist with that. And so now you've called in what's loving and nurturing to be close to you. The guides, the powers, the qualities of energy. And you've asked what is not supportive to remain outside of this protective circle. And just pause and feel into that. Feel into your ability to create and maintain a supportive space within yourself. It's supported by caring energies. And this is the resource place from which we want to enter this work. And I'll ask you to come back to this place, come back to this sense. And now I want you to notice around you, just beyond the edge of your, we'll call it the circle of protection. Notice there are many different ancestral lineages that flow to you, both ancestors of love and ancestors of blood. And pause and feel the resourcing of your ancestors of love, their support, their caring. Let them help support you in exploring the ancestors of blood and body. And notice that through your biological parents and their parents and their parents' parents, on back through time, there are so many, many thousands of ancestors that you're connected to. And know that many of these ancestors may be quite awake and loving. Maybe they were that way during their lives, or maybe now that they've passed, they found some greater healing. And some of your ancestors may be harmful or downright mean and unhealed. And many of your ancestors are likely a mixture of both. Right? Complicated people who, like us, arrive with a mixture of love and selfishness. And just to know right now, you don't need to make any effort to connect with them. Just notice that you're connected in body and blood to a lot of ancestral complexity. And so see if you can just take that in for a few breaths. And now, if it seems appropriate, noticing these ancestral beings, ask those who are healed and vibrant and awake to draw a bit closer to you, to move into the edge of your circle. And now ask those who are troubled or distressed to just take one step back away from the edge of your circle. And know that this is not an act of abandonment or rejection. You're resourcing yourself now to be able to assist them well at some later point. So at this moment, you're just asking that there be a little bit of space between you and them. As the wise, kind ones draw closer to you, they help grow your resourcing and comfort in this work. So allow a moment for the healed ones to move forward, the troubled ones to move back. And notice how it feels. How does it feel to feel protected, grounded in your body, and to invite in closer what's wise and healthy, and to still hold care and regard in your heart for those who are in need? See if you can let yourself enjoy, rest into this resourced layer of presence from the elders who can support you. Just settle into how this feels for a moment. And from this place, we're going to observe the wellness of our lineages using the 4 directions. We're still not connecting directly with any ancestors. We're just noticing into the felt sense of our lineages and observing. So first, bring your attention to the east, the direction that the sun rises in the room where you're sitting. Feel free to turn either intuitively or physically in that direction. And in this direction are your father's people, your paternal grandfather, the lineage of men before him going back into time. And get curious about them. How do their spirits seem right now? What's your impression of them? You can notice the recent ones, the farther back ones, the more distant, older, ancient ancestors. How are they? Without trying to connect with them, just allow that they might all be in different states, right? Some may be well and healed, others may be troubled. Any who have recently passed, you can be curious about how they're doing in spirit as well. And just know we're not intentionally connecting with any of them right now. Just take a moment and feel into the question, how strongly does your father's lineage impact you in the present? Maybe it's a lot, maybe it's a little, maybe something in between. Just notice how your father's people have affected your relationships, your well-being, your trust, your livelihood. And notice if it feels like that impact is close to you, like in your life now, or if it feels far away. Now, just take a moment to re-establish your circle of protection, like resetting your boundaries. Maybe you want to establish, reaffirm that boundary, or maybe you just want to clear your space of it, like you're closing a curtain. Just take a moment, clear away any residue, like finding that centered space again, letting go of anything that's not helpful. You want to come back to that centered, resourced, protected space that we started out from. And from that place of center, when you're ready, I want to invite you to just make a quarter turn to your right, either again intuitively or physically. Quarter turn to your right to face the south. And in that direction, bring your curiosity to your father's mother and the lineage of women before her on back through time. Get curious about them. How do their spirits seem right now? What do you notice about them? Notice the recent ones in the last 3 to 10 generations, the much older grandmothers in the lineage. How are they in spirit today? And be curious about how strongly this lineage of your father's mother's people impacts you in the present. Does their impact include them feeling close to you now in your life, far away? Just notice that. And honoring whatever impressions you have of your father's mother's people. Begin to reestablish your protective circle again. And invite in, hold this clear intent that anyone who's not decisively well from that lineage needs to still be outside of your personal space. And when you're ready, from your place of center, you're going to shift your attention a quarter turn to your right again, to the west, either physically or intuitively. And in that direction, notice your mother's mother and the lineage of women before her on back through time, the recent ones, the span of the lineage before them, much older grandmothers. And to just be curious, right? How are they in spirit? If someone in this line has recently passed, you can also notice how they're doing. And be curious, right? How strongly does this lineage before your mother impact you in the present? Right? A lot, a little, in between. Does the nature of that impact include them being in your space somehow in any way? And if so, just observe, just notice what you sense. And when you feel like you have a sense for where and how they impact you, right, where they're at, begin to re-establish your boundary, recreate, right, reaffirm that protective circle. Asking that anyone who is not decisively well, it can be anywhere in the whole universe except your personal space. And in reclaiming that space, bring your attention back to that centered, resourced space within yourself. And when you're ready, make that last quarter turn to face north, intuitively or physically. And bring your curiosity to your mother's father and the lineage of men before him back through time. What's this lineage of men doing? What are they doing in spirit? Notice the recent ones, the generations before them, then the much older, the ancient grandfathers, your mother's father's lineage, right? How are they? How are they doing? And get curious. Right? How strongly does this lineage of your mother's father's people impact you in the present? If the nature of any of that impact includes them being directly in your space or not. And when you have a sense for that, just trusting your instincts, go ahead and re-establish that protective circle. Ask that anything from your mother's, father's people that's not supportive to you at this time be outside your personal space, outside that circle of protection. And from this place, you can come, bring your attention back to center, back to neutral. And take a moment based on your own intuition. See if you can feel into which of these lineages is going to make sense for you to give ritual care, to give focus to. It's good to not overthink it, to really trust your intuition. Like if there's a lineage that feels very receptive and vibrant, that's a really good choice. And so take a moment in your discernment to just breathe into it, to feel into which of these core lineages would benefit you to explore. And now, just affirming again this centered, resourced, protective space. Just reaffirm your connection to the supportive powers, your guides, these qualities that support you, that you called in at the beginning. Anything not supportive outside the circle, Only those things that support you inside the circle. Know from this place of resource, you have choice, you have decision, you have capacity. And now, as you feel ready, from that place of centeredness and resource, you can gently start to stretch. You can open your eyes and take a moment to make some notes. A moment to make some notes on what you observed. And would love to hear from you. At this point, we have a little bit of time for discussion. Would love to hear from you on what you noticed. Who did you meet?
The next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to offer an embodied practice in gratitude as a way of anchoring into that felt, embodied sense of being with what nourishes our life, you know. I have this tendency, and I see it in a lot of like activists, people who are down for the struggle, to want to go towards the difficulty, wanting to go towards the pain, because we want to heal this world. And this practice, which comes from the lineage of generative somatics, is really inviting our bodies to feel for, to swim in, to know so well that which is supporting us and that which is supporting us in our work in the world. So I'm going to lead this practice standing because it helps me to feel more of this body, this living representative of my ancestors, of my lineages. So inviting you to stand with me. You can also be seated or lying down. You don't have to be on camera. Just noticing how you want to be in this practice, that's a whole path of practice right there, you know? Like here we are in this time where our hearts are aligning with agency and self-determination for the Palestinian people. And we get a chance to practice that in this body. Practice, how do I want to be in this moment? What supports me getting just a little bit more alive with all of this? So I'm noticing as I'm standing up what it's like to just let my body be a body. Can add a little movement, noticing your breath. And in this practice of embodied gratitude, I'm going to be moving and extending through my arms and my legs. If that works for you, please join me. Or you can always practice the same principle energetically, which means that you can feel for it through your tissues, through your body, through your cellular life of your body without doing the movements. So here we go. Extending through the arms towards that which is above. So from your torso, from your center, from the core of your body, making sure your knees aren't locked, really being in relationship with the ground, extending from this body towards that which is above. And so it's as if you flipped the switch on the fire hose and you're letting sensation, the aliveness of your body run out through your torso, through your palms, towards the heavens, towards sky. And declaring, you can say out loud, what are you grateful for from that which is above? Stars, rain, sun. And as you say those out loud, really drawing them back in towards you through the palms, through your arms, down into your body, all that is above, Gratitude for how we've been nourished and held by all that is above us. And for folks who are parents or around little kids a lot, you know this body position, right? This is as ancient as humans, receiving from that which is above. Drawing your arms down towards your torso. You can even place your hand on your body. And now extending towards that which is below. So from your torso, really running your life energy down, out through your palms, gratitude towards what is below. You can call some out loud: rocks, rivers, the earth, this good earth. And drawing all that back in through your palms towards your body. Gratitude for that which is below us. Bringing your palms back towards your body if you'd like. And now extending out from your body, extending out down through the arms, through the palms, extending gratitude for that which surrounds us. It's that field of belonging, people, communities, the world around us. So let's call a few out into your space. My grandmother, who's 99, domestic workers organizing, gratitude for that which surrounds us. And just noticing what happens at the level of your body when you really extend out and then you draw back in through the palms, the support of all of those ones, support of those beings, people, communities, places that surround. Bringing your hands back in. And at this time, keeping a hand on your chest and a hand on your belly or at center, and really extending down through the palms, gratitude for this life, for this person, for this body. You can extend your touch towards yourself. What are you grateful for in you? Reverence, perseverance. Say a few out loud. Kindness. And as you say that, notice the tissues of this body. Notice your body extending back towards your palms. In this way, we keep resourcing and we keep feeling for all that supports our life and our practice. Thank you for practicing with me in embodied gratitude. And would love to see in the chat, if you'd like to drop in the chat anything you noticed in this practice. And sensation could be like temperature, pulse, or emotion. What did you notice in this chat? Sorry, what did you notice in this practice? Your felt sense of gratitude at the level of your body. I'll read these out as a way of increasing that which is good in the world. This is our field of blessing and gratitude with our people today. Our bodies, the bodies of our people. Standing was powerful, felt active and engaged in a different way. Really felt the energy moving into and out of the arms and hands. The movement of energy out and in, that we're in reciprocity. This life as a circuit of giving and receiving. Expanded space inside and out. Love it. More space for more of what you care about. When extending the kindness and care outward first, I am able to take in with more effortlessness Extending and receiving had distinct but parallel energetic balance, like the in-breath and out-breath. Felt so much warmth and connection for land, people, and a lot of loving energy. So yeah, my people, you get to have that. You do have that. We've always had that. And that we can come back to this body as, I wanted to say a tool, but it's not a tool, as this body as a practice of receiving from the world, receiving that which is good and nourishing and life-giving. And I can definitely say, as a queer and trans person, that has not always been available to me. So trauma and oppression oftentimes rob us of our capacity to feel for this. Like trauma and oppression wants us to get small in the face of that which we must face, that which we must change in the world. And so we're really offering this practice as an inherent sense that we all share, that we can come back to at any time, that we can practice towards, of belonging in this world, belonging to each other, belonging to a larger sense of interdependence and togetherness in it all. So thanks for being in that with me. Back to you, my dear Kimber.
Thanks so much for that, Ream. That was really beautiful.
You want me to hang out with you, or you want me to go?
No, you
I came back. Okay. After doing that practice, I was like, why am I leaving? Let me come on back.
Right.
Hang out with you.
So we're gonna share a little bit about things for further practice to continue connecting to your ancestors in daily life, and also really open to hearing like how you connect to the ancestors. It's funny for me, for a long time, the way that my ancestors seemed to want me to connect with them was through food. I made a lot of my ancestors are hungry, apparently. It's like really, really specific things like chicken stew and blackberry cobbler and and just making things that they ate and enjoyed, and really making them like over and over again. We need more, we need more. So like just lots of food. and and so food is actually a really great way to connect. Like, here's something to remember is that your ancestors live in your body, and so the foods you crave are probably the foods that your ancestors craved. And so to trust that, to trust your body to show you like, oh, what are the foods? If you're undoubted, your ancestors probably not craving flaming hot Cheetos, but who knows? Right? Peanut M&Ms, exactly. That's what, maybe. But feel into it a little bit, and and see for yourself what feels good around food. What is calling to your body in terms of what's nourishing. And one really great thing to do around that is to actually go to the farmer's market. Go to the seasonal farmer's market around you, and wait and feel into what's calling you. And if there's something like, oh, this looks good, I don't even know what this is, I don't know how to prepare it, figure it out, and follow your intuition around it. Another really good thing to do is to create an altar, and this time of year especially, really, really great for that. Putting different like pictures, photos, flowers, objects, the elements into into your altar can be really good. One thing that can be suggested in this is to be able to cover an ancestor altar, to not just have it necessarily out all the time, or to have it in a room that isn't your bedroom, for example. You don't necessarily want to sleep with your ancestors awake all night or anything like that. So it can be really good to be able to cover your ancestor altar in some way. I see Ream is saying, I did a year of practice with rye. That was my people's food. I didn't even know how much I liked it. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah.
It was like the center of their entire universe. So I was like, I better get with this.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And that, it can be really interesting to look at, if you've done, ancestry or DNA kind of tests, because I'm completely disconnected from my European ancestral traditions. But if I look on, for the ancestry, I can see the regions that they're from. And it can be interesting to look at what the native plants are that are available to us now, of what our European ancestors might have been consuming, and what even might have been sacred to them. Then let's see, other things, just talk to them, talk to your ancestors, offer them prayers. Offering them some food is very traditional in many cultures. Learning about them, reading about them, listening to music that they might have listened to is also really interesting. Making art, and like intuitive art that can feel kind of guided by your ancestors. One of my ancestors, when I asked one of my healed ancestors what she needed from me, what she wanted from me, what I could do to honor her, she invited me to make dolls out of found materials, like straw and rags and like twine, and to put healing herbs inside of them. And the message was very clear that, today, like, I could just go onto YouTube and be like, how do you make a doll from straw? But the message that I got was really clear. It was like, I don't need to look up instructions for this. I just need to remember. I just need to remember how to do this. And so I did. And so I made a little straw doll out of just like rags and like my daughter's old shirt that she was giving to Goodwill, and it all just came together. And so that's also something, like, with this intuitive process, to feel into, like, what practices around honoring your ancestors do you just need to remember. And another piece of this that I want to invite us to is that, especially for any of us who have some grounding in Buddhist traditions, and Reem pointed to this a little bit earlier, is that we do often the dedication of merit at the end of any program offering practice. And originally, the dedication of merit evolved from, we dedicate it to all beings everywhere. May the benefits of this practice extend out to all beings everywhere. The story behind that is that there was a young woman whose mother passed away. And traditionally, the dedication of merit was done to benefit your ancestors. And so her mother had been very dismissive about the teachings, about being a good person in life. She was not a good person. And so this daughter was really worried about her mother, and, that her mother was not going to do very well in the afterlife. And so she did a lot of practices around, like, offering all of her benefits to her mother, to her ancestors. And the gods were so moved by her practice that they actually let her go back to the underworld to go and get her mother. And so she was walking through the underworld, and she saw all this suffering, so much suffering everywhere. You know, people being, you know, tortured and deprived and all these things. And she was really moved by the suffering she saw there. And when she finally got to the place where her mother was, she was told, oh, your mother just left because of the strength of your practice and of your dedication of merit to her well-being. She's already out of here. And so when the girl returned back to Earth, she decided to start dedicating the merit to all beings, all of those suffering beings that she saw in the underworld. And so that's I love that this story, right, comes from this ancestral practice, and that our dedication of merit is based on dedicating the merit of our practice to the ancestors and to all beings everywhere, including those, you know, living, not living, including those seen and unseen, past, present, and future. And so it's a practice. So dedicating the merit is an ancestor honoring practice, is what that's all to say. And so, yeah, I would also, here I'll share with you something funny. I decided to ask ChatGPT how to connect with ancestors. This is something my wife does all the time. Of like, let's ask ChatGPT, and ChatGPT came up with a lot of the things that I've already suggested, but also said lighting candles, storytelling, right, is a good one. If you happen to have stories about your ancestors, or reading stories, like reading the stories that your ancestors might have read, and journaling. And then this last one is actually something I hadn't actually thought about as an ancestor practice, but it is a really great rooted ancestor practice, is nature walks. Is spending time in nature, reflecting on your roots, reflecting on the lives of your ancestors, and relating to like the world around you, right, as your ancestor, right, as the earth itself as ancestor. The sun, right, as ancestor, the earth and the sun. Your ancestors also lived between the earth and the sun their whole lives, right? And so connecting to this much larger sense of what it means to connect to our ancestors can be really powerful, especially for those of us who only have connections to ancestors of love and not to blood. So I want to bring that in as well. Anything you want to add to that, Ream, or anything that anyone else wants to add to how you're already connecting to your ancestors?
Yeah, I'd love to hear in the chat, or if folks want to join us on screen, like, how are you connecting to your ancestors, or what would you like to practice during this season? This is the powerful season of where the veil is thin, Samhain, also, you know, all throughout Latin America with Day of the Dead. So how would you like to practice, or how are you practicing being in connection? Beloved dead.
I'm going to pause the recording if folks want to unmute.
Thanks for being attentive. So, yeah, so for me, the big thing that made me realize many years ago that I needed to do ancestor work was one of my Black mentors, Dharma mentors, was sharing that she was working with somebody who had stated very clearly that he did not like to work with white people who were not aware of where they were from and were not connected to their own ancestors. That he just wouldn't. He was a prominent teacher in his spiritual tradition, and he did not want to work with white people who are not aware of their ancestry. That they didn't feel safe, that actually felt dangerous to work with white people who, you know, because we're taught as white people, we're deeply conditioned as white people to, you know, we've been through the white supremacy and visibility complex where we've lost, language, religion, culture, our food, our dress, right? All of those things have been stripped and put into this this very, like white American, and also involves class and education, right? There's so many things where we become kind of this just want to this homogeneity, right? And that when we come into racial justice work from that place of thinking that we're homogenous in some way and that we don't have culture, there's so much unconscious bias, unconscious aggressions, right? That come from that. You have culture, but I don't. You have ancestors, but I don't, right? You have baggage, but I don't, right? That's what white supremacy really teaches us. And so this work helps us really address that, like pull that all apart, blow that out of the water, which we do in our work around undermining white supremacy, both in ourselves and in our communities and in the world. But this really goes underneath. It goes like underneath the foundation of white supremacy to really help us get to a deep connection, a deep knowing of who we are in the world, a deep ability to see what's healed and unhealed, not just within ourselves, but in our lineages, and be able to come into our work then from that place. One of my dear mentors, my Black cis straight mentor, Aaron Johnson, he really talks about how important it is to get ahead of our trauma as white people, right? So that we're not coming into multiracial spaces like trauma first, right? So that our trauma just gets triggered, instantly in any kind of interracial interaction. And so he wants us to get ahead of our trauma. And so this is a chance to get ahead, not just of our own individual trauma, but to get ahead of our lineage trauma as well, and be able to care for it and work with the ancestors to heal it and to help move that along in whatever way we can. So for me, this work is really profound. It just gives us a much deeper grounding in this. It's like, it gives us like the giant, shovel to just like dig out white supremacy from the foundation. So that's how I think of it. Ream, go ahead. Anything you want to add to that?
I want to be inside of that prayer. So thank you for naming all of that. I'll speak to what we're doing and what we're up to with the retreat. So, and Marianne, if you can maybe drop something in the chat around it, also easy to find on the Big Bear website. We are feeling very inspired, thrilled even to be able to come to Big Bear, which is about 2 hours outside of Los Angeles in the mountains, and spend December 3rd through 8th, there we go, in practice together with all of this. So specifically, what we'll be up to on that retreat is we'll be working through a lineage to build our sense of contact, connection, direct communication and relationship with a lineage that can support us to come into a deeper sense of ourselves, of belonging to the earth and to each other. And that we're inviting that lineage to really anchor us in this process of holding and healing and doing the work on our behalf of bringing our lineages, the lineages of this body, blood and bone, of course, with the support of lineages of practice, the lineages that have claimed us through our work in the world. So coming into more relationship with a healed lineage that can hold the work for us, both in the ancestral realm and then in this human realm. Because as we said, we know there's so much to do. And so it's exciting to be able to be live in person, in circle together, in ceremony together with this land, a land that I call home. I went to Girl Scout camp, no doubt my gay root, my queer root near there in those mountains, to be held by the land and also held inside this lineage of Buddhism, of Vipassana practice, of Western insight meditation that has brought this meditation center and this community into being. So appreciation to the causes and conditions that have aligned through the dedicated ancestors of the Buddhist and Vipassana lineages that we're in. So it's a silent retreat in the sense of we'll be in meditation practice, Vipassana style together, working with the earth and elements some of the time. And it's a relational or non-silent retreat because we'll be in circle, we'll be in small group, and we'll be in practice together that involves speaking, right? Acts of speech to declare to our people, to the land, to each other, what we're here for. So we'll be in forgiveness practice, we'll be in compassion practice, we'll be in calling all these ones to us in circle and listening practice. So it's going to be a really dynamic retreat, and we're grateful to Big Bear for the support to hold a retreat like this. And I feel ready to turn it over to Mary Ann Kimber. Anything else you want to say there? Mary Ann, where you be? Mary Ann, as our fearless leader at Big Bear. There you are.
Okay. Thank you, Ream, for doing what was I finding near impossible, which was spotlighting myself. So thank you both so much, Kimber and Ream, for this powerful offering today. Thank you all who were able to join us and participate. So as Ream shared, as Big Bear hosting this this event, this retreat in December feels so special. It's a very unique offering, and we're just absolutely honored to welcome any and all of you who can join us. As you probably can tell from today, in this brief time online, how much is able to be generated, I think, in person with more time and space. And it's a beautiful retreat center. You'll be really well taken care of. Beautiful things can happen, powerful things can happen together. So a little bit of housekeeping is, please keep an eye out for a follow-up email that'll be coming in the next couple days. And that's going to include details from today's online retreat, and then important details for the retreat happening in December. And so today's online half day is freely offered by the teaching team and Big Bear. And if you feel inspired to offer any additional gratitude in the form of generosity, the Pali word that we use is dana, which means giving or generosity. In the follow-up email, there'll be a link that you could make a donation through, and anything that would be received is split 50-50 between Big Bear Retreat Center and the teaching team. And we all greatly appreciate just your presence here today. And, if you feel called, any dana offered. So yeah, as was said, today is just a glimpse into the experience of the full retreat that's happening this December 3rd through 8th. And I'll drop that link in again, so you have it handy, and it'll come in the follow-up email. Please tell your friends and family to join us. And thank you again for your time and presence. We can't wait to welcome you on land. Back to you, Ream and Kimber.
Marianne, can you say a little bit about how this recording will be accessible?
Thank you. I'm not 100% sure. So it's going to be edited because of the pauses that we've put in here. I think, well, you will get a follow-up. Everyone here who participated and those who had to leave early as well will get a link. So, the participants have that link, and then hopefully, we can share it more widely if that is anything that you as our teacher facilitators feel comfortable with. So more to come on that, but everyone who was here today will get a link with the portions that were recorded. I'm just not sure of the timing, as soon as somebody can get to it.
All right, let's go ahead and do a little dedication of merit for our ancestors, for all beings. Go ahead and let your eyes softly close and soften. Soften into your body, feel into your breath. Just notice what's here. May these practices that we're learning together here, that we're growing into, may they help us deepen our capacity to reduce suffering within ourselves and in the world, to increase liberation in our communities, beyond our communities, in places of conflict. May these practices deepen our connection to those who have come before us, deepen our connection in all of our lineages of love and blood. May that connection nurture us, fortify us to meet whatever is arising moment to moment, to be able to undermine those systems of oppression that have caused so much harm in the world, to be able to meet our world and all of its beings with compassion, with collective resistance, and with joy. For the benefit of all beings everywhere. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Really wonderful to connect with you. Looking forward to the next time that we see each other. Hopefully for many of you, it will be in December, and if not, in other places, may our paths cross quickly. Yeah.